If your warm-up is just running for 10 minutes, then some arm swings and stretches, you probably leave some serious gains on the table. Does your first set feel heavy and then the second one lighter? Then you really have quite some room for improvement on your warm-ups. I have literally seen people breaking through months of plateaus just by changing something as simple as their warm-up setup. I will give you a simple and effective warm-up framework along with examples and some tips on the whole process. But why listen to me? Well, I'm not just another fitness influencer trying to throw my biased opinion on you. I have studied and I'm still studying hypertrophy from the best, and I have applied the knowledge to myself in the process of learning by experience over the last 10 years, and also to other people, helping them reaching their goals. Let's jump into it. Your warm-up setup should accomplish 3 things. The obvious one is that it decreases the probabilities of you getting injured. If you jump into your first set with your working weight directly, you are putting a huge amount of stress on your muscles and your joints through a movement that your body hasn't done in a while. So even if you did some stretching, your muscles and your joints are not ready to go through that movement safely. The less obvious benefit is that it increases the quality of your first set. Let's say that you are jumping straight to your set with your working weight. Your technique will probably be a bit off when you're doing a movement that your body hasn't done for a whole week. It's very easy to slip on your technique, especially when the load is heavy. On the other hand, if you do some lighter sets first, you have the opportunity to adjust your technique set to set in a safer environment without generating almost any systemic fatigue. Also, if you jump straight to your first set with your working weight, your central nervous system is not really ready for handling that load. This probably means that the limiting factor for the set will be your central nervous system and not your targeted muscle. So if your first set always feels too heavy, then your CNS wasn't prepared. Finally, your mind-muscle connection will probably suffer, since you didn't have the opportunity to build it up set by set as you are progressively increasing the weight. Just think about it for a second. You are doing, let's say, 8 sets for any muscle group within a session, and 2 of them are a bit of a poor quality because you didn't want to invest the time to warm up and prepare for your first working set. This means that a quarter of your training is of a lower quality. But how to fix that? As with most things in training, there is no correct way for warming up. You have to play around and see what works best for you. But I will give you a great starting point that works like a charm, and then we will see some examples. For your first exercise, you want to do one super light set of 10 to 12, maybe 15 reps. On every rep, try to feel your working muscle and do small adjustments to your technique. The purpose of this first set is to start building your mind-muscle connection, go through the movement with some really light weight that you can fully control, and try to warm up and contract your muscle as good as possible. Then one slightly heavier set of 5 to 8 reps, followed by 1 to 3 sets of 2 to 3 reps, with moderate increments in weight until you reach around 85% of your working weight. Let's see some examples. As you can notice, the heavier the exercise, the more sets you need to warm up. Also, for really heavy compounds, doing an 1 rep set with even more weight than your working weight can have some great benefits. It's a shock for your central nervous system and gets you 100% ready for your working set. This way, the first few reps are feeling lighter than usual, and this gives you a great head start for the set. On top of that, it gives you the opportunity to lift a slightly heavier weight. This sets you up for progressive overload for the weeks to come. Also, if you take that extra heavy rep and the weight feels lighter than expected, you might be able to already take the progression that day. Think of it like you are dipping your toes into the water of progression before jumping in. Talking about progression, if you want to know more about progressive overload and why it shouldn't necessarily be your primary focus, You can check out this video where I'm explaining in detail what your priorities should be if you're really serious about building muscle. Now, warm-up sets are not only for your first exercise. For every subsequent exercise for the same or for a synergistic muscle group, you can get away with 1 to 2 warm-up sets, since your joints and muscles are already primed. However, when you are transitioning to a completely different muscle group, you still want to do a light version of the initial warm-up setup. To make things more clear, let's go over the warm-up setup for a complete upper session. Since bench press is the first exercise of the session, you want to go over the movement at least for a couple of times before jumping in the first working set. Also, it's a really good idea to go a bit heavier on your last warm-up set to prime your nervous system. When switching to the flies, your pecs are already warmed up. 2 or even 1 warm-ups can be enough to get you ready. Then, when moving to the rows, you will need more sets to get you ready, because it's the first movement for your back, while for the rest you can get away with 1 or 2 sets, because for the side raises your shoulders were already involved in 3 movements and your triceps and biceps in at least 1. For the exercises that I have trouble feeling my muscles working, I usually do high rep warm-ups with less weight to build a better mind-muscle connection. And in most cases, I even do more sets. And for those that I can connect with the working muscle easily, I might just do 1 set. If you have a vulnerable or injured body part, maybe integrate some band work and some dynamic stretching before jumping into the weights, or between your first lighter sets. In between your warm-up sets, don't spend too much time on rest, since those sets are far from failure. You shouldn't need more than a minute. And in most cases, 30 seconds are more than enough. But between your last warm-up and your first working set, especially in the cases where you are doing an overly heavy rep, you should spend a little bit more time making sure that you are 100% ready for the set and that your last warm-up won't interfere at all with your first working set. I usually like to take 2 to 3 full minutes on this case. Perform all your warm-up sets as if they were normal sets. Strict technique, same tempo and consistent range of motion. Remember that a big part of warming up is preparing you and getting you ready for that first working set, and the best way to achieve that is to replicate the exact same movement each time. Please keep in mind that the whole warm-up process is highly individual and you should play around and see what works best for you. For example, in some cases I might do 6, 7 or even 8 warm-up sets just because I don't feel psychologically ready for my working set, and I'm completely fine with that, because I much rather spend 3 extra minutes on warming up than go ahead and do a shitty first set. But it's really important to have a general structure that you follow most of the days. Bye for now.